The Legend of Zelda is one of Nintendo's most beloved and iconic franchises, continuing to draw fans in with its captivating puzzle-ridden dungeons and action-adventure for more than 25 years. But a brand spanking new Zelda game doesn't come out every day, so what can be done to pass the time until you can get your grubby mitts on the next installment? Well, you can play something very similar, and developer Ludosity has that covered with their top-down action-adventure title Ittle Dew, which, believe it or not, was originally pitched to Nintendo as a full-blown Zelda game. It was definitely crafted in the same vein as that cherished franchise, and you can certainly tell, but Ludosity tweaks some things to make sure it doesn't feel like a total ripoff. In Ittle Dew, you follow the footsteps of the young girl known appropriately as Ittle Dew and her flying fox companion Tipsy, who both wind up on an island beckoning adventure after experiencing shipwreck. So they set out to explore and loot the place in hopes of getting off the island with the help of the island's merchant Iden Carver. Ittle Dew doesn't waste any time pampering you with a long backstory or mounds of tutorials, but rather drops you right into the midst of it all as 20 seconds into the game you enter your first mini dungeon where you'll come to learn the basics of what Ittle Dew is all about in a way that is engaging for the player. Ittle Dew is made up of 4 main dungeons, with 3 being relegated to where you find the game's puzzle-solving items, and 1 giant dungeon that you continuously come back to throughout the entirety of the game. You can only make so much progress in the large main dungeon at one time, as you'll need to find new items to solve new puzzles that crop up as you conquer more and more rooms, so you'll need to find the gold scattered throughout the main dungeon to buy new equipment from the island's only merchant. The thing is, the merchant will happily take your money, but he doesn't actually have the items in his possession, so he'll fling you to a new dungeon where they are located so you can solve the enigmas held within to find the tool, beat the boss, and continue on your merry way. It's a nice little setup where the game will continuously throw new gameplay mechanics at you along the journey so things keep feeling fresh, as each item has their own useful ways to solve puzzles or even enemies for that matter. There's the fire sword, which can ignite bombs or melt blocks of ice that impede your way. There's also the ice rod, which will extinguish fires and freeze blocks so you can slide them around to put pressure on buttons on the floor, and finally there's the portal wand, which can conjure blocks and shoot beams that transport Ittle Dew or an enemy instantaneously to the block's location. With such a limited arsenal of items to work with, this could pose a problem for the game where it could ultimately wind up to be a shallow experience with the lack of creative gameplay ideas, but Ittle Dew does a pretty good job of working around this. It probably helps that Ittle Dew is on the shorter side when it comes to its length, so you aren't exposed to its mechanics for long, so you don't really feel the fatigue. On the other hand, the overworld felt kind of barren. Sure, there are a healthy amount of staircases leading to small dungeons where you can find collectible cards which don't do anything gameplay wise, or pieces of paper to tape onto your health bar so that you can increase it, but there really isn't much else to see on this landmass other than the enemies plaguing your roadway. There aren't any NPCs to talk to or houses to investigate to add some flavor to this unknown region, but just a pathway leading back to the main castle, so the overworld feels, well, kind of lifeless. Whatever is lacking on the overworld though is made up for what is found within the dungeons themselves. And in the dungeons, Tipsy will act as your Navi type assistant that will offer hints whenever you feel like you need them. I actually found Tipsy to be a pretty useful tool when I found myself in a sticky situation, as he will tell you some pretty helpful stuff, and he thankfully doesn't pester you at all by randomly popping up to offer assistance. He's just there in the background, and if you want to call upon him, you can. He has some good insight, as he will tell you if you have the right equipment for the task at hand, which is kind of helpful so you're not horsing around trying to solve a puzzle for hours when you can actually do it. Sometimes he can be a little too specific though, namely during the boss fights where he will tell you pretty much exactly how to defeat them. It would have been nice if he was a little bit more cryptic. Visually, Ittle Dew looks pretty good. It's very whimsical, colorful, and even has wobbly graphics to give it that extra flair, and it also gives me some serious Ed, Edd n Eddy vibes. The game really doesn't take itself seriously, and you can tell from the different character designs, like the amazing platypus creature or the flying blanket that wants to suffocate you. The dialogue is in the same boat, as it pokes fun at Zelda tropes, like enemy placements or eating hearts to gain health. How about this one? You can literally set an old man on fire. Yeah, let that one sink in. Now, as I stated previously, Ittle Dew is a rather short game, as you can probably beat the main storyline in under 3 hours, but the game was designed this way to compensate for speedrunning. The game is filled with multiple secrets and shortcuts, so you are encouraged to continue playing over and over again to find new ways to beat the game. Other than trying to speedrun, you can try to complete all the mind-bending puzzles found throughout the overworld, collect all the different trading cards, and you might just find yourself scratching your head as you put yourself to the test. Overall, Ittle Dew is a heavily inspired Zelda-esque Wii U eShop title that turns out to be a pretty fun puzzling adventure. The combat may not be all that great outside of the boss fights, but the puzzling dungeon designs using your ingenuity to make the most of the limited arsenal of items is enjoyable. So if you have $10 to spare, why not check out Ittle Dew, because thegamingpixelshow.com finds it to be a pretty good game. But that will bring us to the end of this review, and if you like what you saw, please give it a thumbs up and add your favorites and all that good stuff, and you can stay tuned for more video reviews, news videos, and That's on Me episodes in the future. And I will talk to you later in the next video, guys. Bye!